Right then, let's move on. Obviously, in absence of loads of news happening around Liverpool, I say it's been a relatively quietish time. I did ask them about Discord users if they've got any conversations, questions that they'd like to ask, and there's a couple of good ones actually. In particular, let's throw the Mo Salah grenade in here first of all. And this is from Paolo, who says, "It's about Mo Salah's future. What price do you think Mo Salah could be available for in the summer if he is going to be available? Do you think Liverpool will regret not accepting that massive £150 million offer?" I mean,
no.
The second question first, he won them the league,
so
no. But the next question is, I wonder if Liverpool, in hindsight, could they have let him go and not give him a new contract? Is he going to be available this summer? Do you think this is the last time it's the last 6 months or so of Mo Salah's career? Because I'm starting to get the sense it might be.
I'm still not sure. I mean, I think the only place he's going to go will be to Saudi Arabia. And that was one of the questions I asked him when we spoke to him at Leeds. Is there still interest from Saudi Arabia? And he said he didn't want to talk about it. So I don't think that will have gone away. If he comes into the summer in that final year of his contract, what would Mo Salah be worth? First of all, absolutely not. It was not a mistake to let him go. What would it have been now, 2 years ago? Because, like I say, he did fire them to the league, and he was, still is the reigning PFA Player of the Year, isn't he? So you can't really say that. But he hasn't had a good season. I think Liverpool have been better in a general sense in the final third since he returned, and the stats will back that up. They're scoring more, they're creating more chances. But he's only scored 1 Premier League goal since the start of November, which for Mo Salah is ridiculous.
This is as long as Journo, is it 9 Premier League games? That's a goal. That's as long as he's ever gone.
So, I mean, it does sound worse because he wasn't there for 7 games, but
it's 9 Premier League games, that's a goal. He scored a few in Europe, of course, and he got the FA Cup goal, but it's been 9 Premier League games.
He hasn't even had a penalty to take, has he, to step up and, get on the score sheet that way. So, it wasn't a mistake to not to sell him at the time, and that was a decision that was made from the very high up at Liverpool when they rejected that approach from, was it Al Hilal 2 years ago. But it could be a conversation this summer, couldn't it? And I'm not too sure which way it'll go. Does Salah sort of think, well, this season was just a bit of a write-off because AFCON was in there, he had to fall out with the not playing every week, had tough to get his head around and adjusting to that new reality, as it were. The general form of the team, they had the whole Diogo Jota, that still is a long shadow on this squad for me. So does he maybe have a summer where he has a rest, comes back and thinks, like he did last year, I'm going to give it me all for the final year of my contract and I'm going to be the best player again? Or does he think, I've achieved everything I can at this club and time to move on, where he'll be the sort of poster boy for the Saudi Pro League if that interest is still there? So it's tough to say either way at the moment, and I think only Mo will know the answers, and at the moment he's probably not even contemplated either way at the moment. So I think it becomes a real topic of conversation this summer, that one. I'm just not sure what his price point would be now if the Saudis do look to bring forward their interest again.
You're not going to get a big load of money from Mo Salah now at this point in time. You'll get a decent fee, of course you will, because he's Mo Salah. What you do free up is that massive wage that he's on. Like, he's Liverpool's highest paid player considerably. The highest paid player of the club of all time, and upwards of reports like £400,000 a week or something. It's whether you believe he's offering you £400,000 a week worth of output, and even he'd probably say no at this moment in time. He's not, and sometimes, and this always happens in football clubs, you end up paying players for past performances rather than what they're delivering now. So that's the reason where I think maybe that could be a conversation to have.
But there is that, and I think Liverpool generally tend to adopt the stance of, what have you done for us lately, almost, where it's like, we're going to hand you a new contract based on what you're going to be able to contribute over the course of that contract, as opposed to it being a reward for previous form. But could you imagine if Liverpool would have let Mo Salah go as a free agent last summer, and adopted this stance of, well, we think he's on the decline, we're going to back ourselves and let the, top scorer walk away for nothing? There would have been a mutiny, wouldn't there? So I think Liverpool basically had their hands tied by Salah's form, even though, they try their best not to be impacted by that sort of stuff. It would have been ridiculous. It would have looked ridiculous not to have given Mo Salah a new contract on the back of the season that he produced. And it's been a totally different season this year, hasn't it? For like a number of reasons, like we've just outlined there. But yeah, I think you're right. I think probably even he would suggest that maybe he's not contributing what he perhaps should be as the highest paid player in the club's history. And if you get Salah off the wage bill, that gives you scope to sign 2 top players, on X amount of money each per week, and still might even still give it a little bit of wriggle room. So yeah, it is a fine balancing act, isn't it? And like I say, I think that might be a conversation that Mo has in his own mind at some point towards the end of the season before coming to a definitive conclusion himself.
Absolutely. Next question is, I'm going to combine the two. Actually, we have one from Goth and one from Philly, who said it's about transfers and the summer basically, but what area of the pitch does Paul think we'll see the most change this summer? Are we looking at, there's been rumours about wingers, defenders, midfielders, like everything's been talked about here, but in terms of transitions and turnovers, what are we expecting? What do you think Liverpool will be?
We've spoke a lot, haven't we, about the potential for a lot of change in the centre-back department. Konate's still not sure what's going to happen with that. I guess the precedents of Salah and Van Dijk give people hope because they signed their new deals in April, didn't they? So there's still time for that to develop decisively one way or another. Jeremy Jacquet is coming in. Joe Gomez might decide that it's time for pastures new after what will be 11 years. So it could be at centre-back where we see a little bit of upheaval. But I think in the forward options, I think Liverpool are still light even with everyone fit. Chiesa hasn't really shown that he's going to gain the trust of Slot, so I can see maybe him moving on. And then you've got, what will that give you? Isak, Ekitike, Salah and Gakpo, and then Ngamoba with the sort of the pathway clear a little bit. So I still think Liverpool need to do something there as well. Midfield are okay. Endo might decide to move on. Fullbacks, Andy Robertson. I think that is a big question mark as well, isn't it? Right back, they're okay. Goalkeepers are fine. So yeah, maybe, that forward department we might see. Don't think it'll be a number 9 as such. I think they're okay there. Maybe someone who's...
They should be 240 million pounds worth of strikers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the decision, I try not to be sort of Captain Hindsight with this because no one was full of praise more for Liverpool's summer business than me. But when you look at it now, 300 million on 3 players in Ekitike, Wirtz and Isak, 320 million actually all in. That's a lot of money, isn't it? I was flabbergasted when I wrote a piece earlier this week that Arsenal, net spent more than Liverpool. But you'd never know that because Liverpool had big ticket players, high profile players all coming in, whereas Arsenal sort of dotted it around their squad. And I think maybe Liverpool probably need to adopt that approach this summer. More squad players, bulk it up a little bit, and then you head into the next season with the likes of Wirtz and Isak and Ekitike, Kirkes, Frimpong, all these players who were starting most weeks, and then you've got some real quality on the bench because I think that's what has impacted Liverpool a lot this season, hasn't it? The centre-back shortage has been there all year and they're still crying out for someone who could have helped, certainly up front. So, yeah, centre-back will be maybe a little bit of change, and up front we might see that might be where the biggest upheaval comes.
Yeah, I think wide players, I think if you ask them secretly, I think Liverpool will be like, probably didn't need to sell Luis Diaz there. In terms of on the pitch, finances and contracts, I understand. Maybe there's something there. I think actually, I'll answer the question as well, Phil, if you don't mind. I wouldn't be shocked if Chiesa and Salah leave and Liverpool go and spend big on 2 wingers. And the rest of the squad isn't miles off. Again, they might need a left back for Andy Robbo and something a centre back, depending on what they think of Jacquet, Leone. Maybe they're okay there if Joe Gomez stays. But I think a lot of Liverpool's problems have become from wide areas and pace and just
goals
and lack of options. It's the same lads all the time.
Yeah,
it's Salah and Gakpo. And listen, both good players. And listen, but they can't. If there's no consequence really for poor performance because there's no one who's really pushing them for the.
There is that. Yeah.
Salah got dropped to play a midfielder there for a few games. That's just not. And it was your best midfielder. You don't really want him doing that. So I think probably. I think wide areas wouldn't be. I know there's been links to a few of them already, and I think that might be.
And I think what is interesting is last summer has shown that Liverpool will be ambitious and they will target who they feel is the absolute best player in that position. Isak up front and Florian Wirtz in the number 10. So that should excite supporters, I think. If they feel that they're going to go and do that again. I've just said then about maybe being a bit more sort of, aware of the options throughout the squad, but if they're continuing this strategy of sort of blue ribbon, you know, number one targets. I think that's quite exciting. You know, when you think they're going to go and sign a forward player, who's it going to be? Because, you know, they could be at the table for some really big names.
That was a clip from Journo Insight. To check out the whole show, simply download the Redmen Plus app or click the link in the description.